Welcome, 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 everybody, to Fearlessly Feral Living. This is Reverend Karen, and my very special guest today is Reverend Linda Finley. She comes to us from Eugene, Oregon. She has a center there, the Center for Spiritual Living in Eugene, Oregon. And I'm very much looking forward to our conversation. I think you will find it rich and rewarding. But before we jump into that, let me get my introduction done here. So I already welcomed you to Fearlessly Feral Living. I am broadcasting to you from the Woogie Ranch out here in the back 40 of northwestern Nevada, where I'm a half an hour away from the nearest gas station and the nearest grocery store. Our mission here is to provide you with a strong and unshakable inner foundation that works for successful long-term living. Our purpose is to activate inner self-awareness, and our vision is a world in which everyone lives wild and free, which, of course, if you've been listening for a while, you know that wild and free is another set of words for fearlessly feral. So I'd like to introduce you to my friend Linda Finley. We've actually never met in person. We've had numerous phone conversations and many conversations on Facebook, and we've kind of connected over the last 3 years, something like that, over lots of stuff that we have in common. When I first met her, and this is one of the things I know to be true about Linda, when I first met her, I discovered that she used to own a bar. She was a bar owner. I thought, oh my God, well, I would have been your best customer in the bar, except for when I passed out. And then you'd have to have the guys lift me up and carry me out and park me somewhere. So I really identified with that piece. We both love to read and share a fondness for many of the same books. Lately we've both been reading a lot about Stoicism, which is really kind of a fun, grand thing. And Linda shared with me that cooking is her love language, and it is mine too. If you know me, you know that if something happens in your life, first thing I say is, can I bring you a casserole? Yeah. So I really am happy to have Linda here with us today. And just a couple little facts about her. She started with Science of Mind about 30 years or so ago. And before she did, she worked at the welfare department and then as an employment counselor. And then of course, she went and owned the bar and became a minister with Science of Mind in 1999, which was just about the time when I was starting to take classes at my local Science of Mind center. And she moved to Oregon in 2006, which is where she resides now. And the thing that made me want to invite Linda to be a guest here with me today is fear. I'll just put it right out there in a nutshell. It's fear. I have been experiencing some fear lately, and I have a bunch of tools that I use to deal with it. And you heard me speak of them before, but I always like to provide alternative perspectives on this thing called fear. And I wanted to read you something that Linda posted on Facebook. And it was this post that made me think I need to invite her to be a guest on my podcast. Here's what she wrote. Fear never helped me think clearly. Fear never gave me any good ideas. I need to acknowledge that what is happening is upsetting, and then move in the direction of solutions and new questions. Let the energy of the fear motivate me to move, but do not let it rule my thinking. So I'm going to shut up now and let Linda jump in here. And if there's anything I missed in your bio that you would like my audience to know about Linda, speak up and let's talk a little bit about fear.
Thanks so much, Karen. It's odd that I would have developed a relationship with fear that I have because I grew up kind of a shy child. I'm a bit of an introvert and have kind of always been observing from the outside rather than being involved in the middle of things. And people who know me go, no, that's not you. Well, I put on a role. I put on Linda the bartender could do things that Linda the patron could never do. And Linda the minister can do things that Linda the person could never do. And sometimes Linda the minister has to ask Linda the bartender to step in and do a few things. But I when I started in New Thought, we were about focusing on where you want to be, focusing on what you want to do. Don't give energy to what you don't want. And all these things are good. The idea of being for something and against nothing is really important, because if in the ancient Eastern wisdom, what you focus on grows. And so if I focus on my fear is just going to get bigger. And I remember years ago, Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones did a talk at a Asilomar. When we came in, you got 1,000 people in this room, and they handed everybody a balloon and said, don't blow it up, just hang on to it. And when he spoke, he said, what I want you to do is blow up the balloon, but don't tie it, just blow it up. And so we've got this balloon in front of us. He says, now hold it at arm's length. So now when you've got the balloon held at arm's length, what can you see? You can see the whole room, and the balloon is blocking this little bit over here. He says, now slowly move the balloon until it touches your nose. What can you see now? And it was the whole idea of when all of this stuff is going on in my life, and I'm only focused on the stuff that isn't working, I'm not actually living in a way that helps me grow. And the reason I remember this so much is when he said, okay, now what I want you all to do is at the count of 3, we're going to let go of our balloons. And if you can imagine 1,000 colorful balloons flying around the room going, it's an image that gets stuck in your head, but it helped me to see that by focusing on what I feared, I was blocking out all the stuff that was working, all the things that could give me ideas, all the things that could help me grow. And so it set me on a different path to how do I get to know this fear? How do I get to know this idea and learn from it rather than try to squelch it? Because I spent several years after that trying to squelch it.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever done that. Kind of pushing in the Debbie Ford movie, pushing the beach ball underwater and hold it underwater, which doesn't work. And finally coming to sit down and developing a relationship with the negative emotion, with the fear, with the anger, with whatever.
Yeah. It's funny that you should mention Dennis Merritt Jones, because he has a new book out called When Fear Speaks, Listen. And tomorrow I'm starting the beginning of a 4-week class based on that book. So
and I didn't know this, and she didn't pay me to bring it up. So there we go.
Yeah. So we both mentioned Dennis today. And Dennis, if you're listening, you're not listening now because we're not live, but yes, the book is wonderful. I'm really looking forward to my class tomorrow and the students who have signed up for it. Yeah. And Linda, I can really identify with what you said about how it doesn't work to push fear down. I led a lifestyle for 20 years of pushing fear down. And that was why I would have been so good in your bar, because I drank behind it for 20 years. And when I finally got sober and had to allow that fear to come to the surface, that was huge. And there were a lot of other problems that I encountered as a result of finally stopping to push that stuff down and let it come up to the surface. And today, after being sober for almost 38 years now, today I am very, very grateful, because when the fear comes, because I've said this before, fearlessly feral living isn't about living with an absence of fear. It's about dealing successfully with fear.
Yeah.
And what Linda's speaking to is how to deal successfully with fear. So when the fear comes, I have tools to deal with that. So what are some of the ways that you deal with it and get into the solution? And I'm really intrigued by what you said here about new questions.
Well, it's as I've gotten into doing what I call shadow work, which is working with those parts of us that include the fear, that are things that people, the things that I don't want you to know about me, the things that I don't want you to see, the things that I want to keep in the closet or hidden. And those are the things that I actually need to develop a relationship with. I need to listen to it, as the book said. And I need to be, some years ago, I was on a retreat in Ireland with Reverend Dr. Jim Lockhart and Reverend Dr. Moira Fox. And I said something about something that had come up to be healed.
Mhm.
And both of them almost in unison said, oh, please, what if you didn't say healed? What if you thought about it as something that came up to be learned from?
Yes.
Because the whole word, our teaching is based a lot on the words that we use, and that our words create our reality. Well, the moment I say something needs to be healed, I am implying that it's broken. I'm implying that there's something wrong with it. And the fear that I'm feeling, the things that are happening, the negative energy that I am experiencing is not broken or wrong. It's trying to tell me something. It's trying to get my attention. It's trying to get me to listen. It's like the proverbial 2-year-old going, mommy, 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 till we'll listen. And so if I can view my emotion that's coming up as a recalcitrant 3 or 4-year-old, that I can sit down on my lap and say, okay, you've got my attention now. What is it you need me to know? What is it you've been trying to tell me? What are you worried about that I'm not doing or thinking of? To literally talk to our inner child, as it were. I hesitate to call it inner child because that's a different kind of work. But we all have an inner 3-year-old and 5-year-old and 16-year-old and whatever, and they throw fits sometimes, and we need to sit down with them.
Yeah.
And have a sippy cup and talk about what's this trying to let me know? What is the process I need to learn from here? What is going on that I may not be being aware of? I know years and years ago, it was pointed out to me, that the opposite of love is not hate, but fear.
Yes.
Fear is a belief that God is not good. Fear is a belief that love is not present. Fear is the belief that there is not enough, even though if we take what we view, the energy of life is in and through all of us and connects all of us. But we think it's not there, or we think it's not there for us. I know one of the scientific principles is there's actually no such thing as cold. There's only the absence of heat. There's no such thing as darkness. There's only the absence of light. And I like to use the metaphor. You can take a flashlight and shine a light into a room, but you can't take a dark stick and shine dark into the room. Although some of us, I think, have tried to do that sometimes. But fear is the same way. It isn't the it doesn't have a life of its own. Its life is our belief in it that we're not enough, that there's not enough. And so it's about what do I need to know here? What is this trying to tell me? I know God gets real subtle with me sometimes. And I every now and again have to think, okay, I need something a little more. I need like a 5x7 card with big bright red letters on it, that with an arrow pointing to what it is I need to do. I don't need subtlety, but always being willing to not judge something but question it.
Yes.
And beautiful book by Marilee Adams about asking questions and living the questions. And it's the whole idea that basically, instead of being so proud that we have the answers, we really need to open ourselves to the questions.
Yes.
That are being that are coming up before us.
What's the name of that book?
Oh,
Remember?
see, I brought it up, and as soon as I remembered her name,
Marilee Adams.
and the let's see, MERR, because it's at work, so I can't grab it to
Oh,
you right
okay.
now.
If you can't come up with it, I can look it up later and put it in the show notes for everybody. It's another book, but I'm probably going to have to buy. And Linda is doing a lot to contribute to my book addiction here.
Yeah, I am we transferred from drugs and alcohol to
Books, yes. To books.
okay. Marilee Adams books. Change your questions, change your life. I
Oh
should
my
remember
goodness.
that as a science of mind. Change your questions, change your life.
Oh my goodness. Okay, got it. That probably is going to be a must-have. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I've so much you have said has hit me today. And I love what you said about when I say something needs to be healed, I'm implying that there's something broken, and that is not the truth. And I remember when I first started in training for interim ministry, which is what I'm doing now. And we were cautioned to never tell our interim communities that we were there to facilitate healing. And I'm like, but why not? That's what's needed. No, it's not. There's knowledge. There's new knowledge to be revealed to the light. There's new stuff, new questions to ask. And this is so good for me to remember right now, because in a little over a week, I'll be starting with a new interim community, and I'm pretty excited about it. And so I'm remembering, oh yeah, there's no such thing as healing. There's only stuff that wants to be revealed and provide us with new knowledge about ourselves and help us move, sometimes gracefully, sometimes not, sometimes
Usually not. Yeah, we're human usually.
yeah, sometimes drop kick us into our next greatest expression of being. And I love that. I love that you mentioned that. Thank you very much.
Well, it's the whole idea of there's nothing to fix. There's only more to learn. And and that's one of the things that for years they used to call our teaching a healing teaching. And it really, Dr. Holmes himself said, there's nothing to heal, there's only truth to reveal. And so it's about not fearing what's coming up. Yeah, it's aggravating the heck out of me. Yeah, it is frightening me. And there's something more here that's trying to happen. And I'm standing in the, it's what I'm loving about Stoicism, is the learning that, the obstacle is the way. In Kabbalah, they have a saying, Kabbalah is mystical Judaism, that Satan, actually they translate it as the obstacle, and Satan is the doorway to God. Whenever I come up against an obstacle, I've come up against a doorway to God. And instead of avoiding the obstacle or trying to go around the obstacle, what I really need to do is go through the obstacle, confront the obstacle, be with the obstacle, don't fight the obstacle, but learn from the obstacle. And I think that's probably, the greatest key for my life, for what I have learned over the years, is stop fighting what is and try to figure out what it's trying to tell me. What is it I need to learn to move past this? Because, hate doesn't drive, Martin Luther King, hate does not drive out hate. Only love can do that.
Yes.
Perfect love casts out fear. All of the ways. Love is what we need to do. And love comes from being curious and caring and open to what is. What is this? What is this trying to say to me that I'm pushing away, rather than, or trying to obfuscate or work around, instead of, if this obstacle keeps showing up, the universe is really great at that. If you don't get it this time, it will come back bigger and better.
Bigger and
with
better.
The next generation.
Yes, it will. Yeah, it'll come back bigger and better. Yep. Yes. That's
And
for
I think
sure.
that's the hardest thing to explain to people. I went from, okay, I couldn't do that, and then suddenly I had a dear friend in the congregation who kept going, I need a break, I need a break, I need a break. Well, he stepped off a curb and shattered his calf in 3 places. He got a break.
You got a break. Yep.
And we need, if we need the break and we don't take it and we keep saying we need it, the universe will give it to us.
Yes. Yes.
Again, the importance of what it is that we're affirming, what it is we're asking for.
Yes. I don't know if you're always this profound, Linda. But you're very profound today.
I'm a Leo. I just love to talk. So
Well, it's a good thing you're a minister then, huh?
yeah, it seems, either a bartender or a minister, one of those things.
One of the two. Yeah.
Well, I was going to teach Shakespeare at the college level,
Oh, uh-huh.
but that didn't work out. So here I am, and I found a job where I still get to study all my life.
Yes. Yes. I love that about being a minister. I'm still studying.
And it is a calling. It's like, I'm getting up there in years now, and I'm looking at retiring from the pulpit in the next 3 to 5 years, something like that. But, I've realized, I've watched this. My joke is none of all my friends have flunked retirement. All my ministerial friends have colossally flunked retirement,
Uh-huh.
But what it is you can retire from a job. You cannot retire from a calling. And I call this a job. It's not a job. It is a calling. I work with people. I work with empowering people. I work with creating community. I have done that in every job I have ever had. The bar was Visalia's answer to Cheers. We were a community of people, and we literally married, buried, and birthed people there.
In the bar. Yes. Yeah.
And it was a family, it was a community, and that's what people who aren't familiar with the bar culture will say, oh my God, what a huge leap. And it's actually, you've been there, it's a lateral transfer.
It is. It's a very lateral transfer. Yes.
You have a group of people who are hungry for something, who need to know that they need to connect with other people, and some tool, some spirit that will help them cope with what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
We just provide a different kind of spirit now.
Yes. Yeah. Different kind of spirit. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Ministry is my retirement job. I had another job for 30 years, or however many years it was, right around 30, maybe 35. And when I retired from that was when, right in the middle of that whole thing, was when I was in ministerial school and graduated and started doing what I call minister stuff.
Well, and that's probably what I'm working on right now, is building a ministry like you have, something that is online where I can teach classes and work with people and do things like that outside of the pulpit thing.
Yeah.
But back to the whole idea of fear and questions and that sort of a thing. We have to, as role models, as teachers, my thought is, model for people the whole idea of facing things and being as authentic as we can with the fears that come up. And you're dealing with people in interim ministry. There's a lot of fear in a community where their minister's gone and they don't know where they're going. And I view your role as a way shower of helping them define who they are. You're not healing, as I said, you're not healing anything. You're guiding them in who do we want to be.
Yes.
Yeah, I've talked to my people a lot about, we've been in existence 54 years in Eugene now.
Uh-huh.
And I said, basically, we don't want to go back to what it was before COVID. We don't want, we'd like the bigger numbers and everything.
Yes.
But what we want to do is view those first years as the foundation upon which we're building where we're going. And I said, I'd really like them to view this as, we've been gifted a paid off building and all this equipment, and we're building a new spiritual community. What are we doing now?
Yes.
Because when I got there, the building had already been paid off. We've got all this lovely sound and technological equipment, and chairs and stuff and stuff and stuff. Well, where do we go from this? Instead of having to get all that stuff, because I started a new work and boy, finding chairs, finding a pulpit, God, that's a lot.
It is a lot, yes. Yeah. I'm so happy to hear you say we don't want to go back to what it was like before COVID. I've been telling people that. No, there's no going back. It's not, it's done. That's a done deal. COVID was one of the hugest
slate cleaners.
Yeah, but it was huge. And we have an opportunity with COVID to to create something new. And there's so many people who have resisted that. They want to go back to what it was like pre-COVID. And I'm over here going, no, no.
Well, and there's thousands, literally thousands and thousands of people right now who classify themselves as nuns, NONES, nuns.
Oh, yes.
And when it comes to spirituality, because they don't have a specific religion, but they do have a spiritual nature.
Yes.
They don't say they're atheists at all. They're just saying, I don't have a religion of record.
A religion.
And I think they're hungry for what we're offering, for what we have to do, which is finding your way to connect in community with tools that equip you to build a better world, to build that new world, to establish that new way of being with one another, and to grow a place where everybody belongs.
Yes. Yes, I agree completely. I know that I have many listeners here on my podcast of folks who never heard of Centers for Spiritual Living, don't know what Science of Mind is, and yet they are, because I know this because they've told me, they've left messages for me. They are very interested in the message behind Science of Mind, and they love being able to hear the message at their will. So they'll listen to the podcast whenever. And I love being able to provide that for people. It's one of the reasons why when I started my focus ministry, I knew I wanted to do a podcast. And, we were talking before we started recording about being geeks. I had to take a podcasting class because I had no clue how to do podcasts. And I took one from one of our fellow ministers, and she got me started. And I had this podcast up and running within, I don't know, it was quick after the class ended. It was pretty quick. Yeah. And I've been going ever since. And I love doing this because it attracts all sorts of people who are really hungry for our message, and yet they don't know that it's there necessarily. Yeah. And they don't want to go to church on Sunday. Yeah.
And I saw that there's a place, it was in the minister's listserv recently about somebody, and it's a phrase we've been using. We have switched to calling our Sunday meeting the gathering.
Yes, the gathering.
Not the Sunday service or celebration, but a gathering. The gathering begins at 10:30.
Yeah.
And using words that are not loaded with
Church
service and sacred, and all that. The thing that it frustrates me so is the whole idea that sacred is somehow very solemn. Sacred needs to be solemn. It needs to be quiet. It needs, and there are places where it needs to be quiet, but sometimes there is a place to make a joyful noise, and
exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So I love the whole idea of this teaching and this exploration of the feral concept, because we have so confined ourselves in our stories we tell ourselves of how to be good little girls and boys and fit into the appropriate box.
Yes.
And then we sit around waiting to be judged or shamed or whatever. And feral is, I'm here, this is who I am, take it or leave it, it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you or do anything mean to you, but I'm not here to be pooped on by you either.
Yes. I love that. I get people all the time who say, what exactly is fearlessly feral? And it activates some people.
Yeah.
I've had guests on this podcast talk about it, and they tell me, one guest said, when I first heard the name, I was like, I don't like that name at all. But she asked about it. And
Again,
yes,
the questions, ask about it. If you
ask
don't
about it.
understand it, ask.
Yes, if you don't understand it, ask. And I bless her heart, she did. And I mean that only a really good way, not a Southern way. She really did ask, and I really did answer. And when we were done with the conversation, she had a totally new idea of what Fearlessly Feral was all about. Yeah, yeah.
But that's you asked earlier, and I'm not sure that I answered it appropriately about the whole construct of questions, but it's instead, question instead of judge. When I used to go to Parker Palmer's Center for Courage and Renewal retreats, one of the guidelines they always had was, when the going gets tough, turn to wonder.
Oh,
I wonder why they said that. I wonder why I'm being triggered by it. I wonder what they mean here. I wonder what that's about. And instead of judging it and putting it in a box, pull it out and shine a light on it. I keep going back to that cartoon when I was little, of the guy who sees the shadow of the giant dragon chasing him. And when he finally turns around, there's this little tiny lizard that's got a candle behind him.
yes.
And it's the shadow of a little bitty thing, but because it goes wide, it casts a big shadow. When we turn around and look at the fear, when we turn around and look at the pain, when we turn around and look at what's bugging us, we find it's really nowhere near as terrifying as we thought it was going to be. Is it comfortable? No. But is it as devastating as we were afraid of? Hell no.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful, Linda. That's wonderful. And I think with your beginning story about the balloon and your ending story about the lizard, I think we've kind of come full circle on this topic, because we are just about out of time. And yeah, I have so enjoyed this conversation, and I want to invite you to come back again, be a guest again on the podcast. I think that would be wonderful. And if people want to reach you, is there a way that they can reach you? Or
I have a Facebook page. It's just Linda Finley on Facebook.
Linda Finley on Facebook. Okay.
Linda Finley. I mean, sure, there's a bunch of Linda Finleys, but I'm the one in Eugene.
Yeah.
And it's got my face on the
got your face on it. Yeah. Okay, good.
And then our center is csleugene.org.
CSL,
and that's our website.
Okay, I'll put that link in the show notes. Okay. I'll have that link in the show notes so that people can find it. If you live in the Eugene area, you might want to pay a visit to Linda's gatherings.
And we're on YouTube and Facebook as well. So
Okay.
we do a StreamYard of the Sunday gathering. So
okay, good.
We're working on getting somebody who's really, really geeky, maybe you or it, but to help us take our big long service or gathering and move it down to just the talk and just the meditation, to have
just the talk. Someone who knows how to edit.
Somebody who knows how to edit. So if any of you out there know how to edit and can do that online, we would love to get our Facebook page and our YouTube page updated to
just the talk.
Instead of these big 90-minute gathering videos, which nobody's likely to want to sit down and watch that much, a 20-minute talk video sets and a 15-minute meditation video sets. Those are.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You got it. I'll put all of that information in the show notes, including her recruiting for a geek to edit down their videos. And you can also find this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube in both audio and visual form, because we've done this on Zoom and Facebook. Yes, it's out there in the world. And in closing, I would love to thank you very much for your listening and for your support. Fearlessly Feral Living is a focused ministry of Centers for Spiritual Living, and your support is very much appreciated and fully tax deductible. And in the show notes, I will have ways that you can support us. There's donation link, and you can also check everything out at our webpage, which is fearlesslyferal.org. Until then, I am knowing fearlessly feral living for you and for me. Thank you very much.